Up to order. We have some missing members, but the fortunate thing is we have our videographer, and Sandy will make sure this is captured so they could all read it. They all assured me in their own way, at least Joe, Kevin, and Candace, that they will review the video, and I know the public find these videos insightful. So, Town of Southington, Board of Finance, workshop, February 25th, 2025, this is the second of two workshops where the departments present their budget. And we thank everybody for being here. And I had to say at work, too, I sent out a big note to everybody who works for me and just said to them, make sure you thank somebody every day. That was a work-related thing, not a Board of Finance thing. But I just want to start on behalf of the Board of Finance, just thanking everybody, the leaders who are here for their departments, and all the people who work for the town. We know that sometimes when there's a snowstorm, there's a lot of chatter on the internet. How come the transfer station wasn't open? Or why are people plowing all day and night? Why are they on the roads before the snow even starts? Sometimes it's a lack of understanding, but it gets translated into, a hurtful comment to a town worker who left their home, came out early on a weekend to pre-treat a road, or didn't open the transfer station because they knew maybe they wanted to be home just a little longer because they knew they were going to have a long drawn-out night. And it's not just highway workers, it's everybody who works for the town. Let's just make sure we're saying thank you, and at the very least, budget aside, that we appreciate everybody who does the work that they do for the town. Any good worker who sets forth to do a good job is much appreciated. So, thank you. We'll start. I don't have the order, so I'll ask Chrissy if she could just tee up who goes first. It's not a horse trade.
The first departments will be assessments and tax collection.
Look at that.
He's ready to go.
Jump right out of the chair.
Good evening. Is this on? Yeah, okay. Hi. Tonight I will be presenting budgets for three separate departments. First off, we're going to discuss the tax collector's office. In a nutshell, that office collects approximately 80% of the funds necessary to run the town each year. When I was originally hired by the town 27 years ago, the tax office had just converted from a manual record-keeping system to a computerized one. We were still printing all bills and notices in-house. We had 4.5 employees at that time. Since being rehired by the town in 2018 after a 9-year absence, I have trained a keen eye on the appropriate staffing level for that office. Over the years, we've utilized an online payment platform, a lockbox processing facility, and most printing requirements are now completed off-site, all of which reduce the in-office workload. However, we were still staffed the same way. So a couple years ago, I eliminated a full-time clerk position, and as the director overseeing both tax and assessment, I was able to step in and fill a chair full-time during busy collection months, as well as other weeks where vacation or illness further reduced available manpower. So we were at a level of 3.5. With this budget request, you'll see a couple changes, namely that I will be a dedicated tax collector for the town, no longer having to split my time between two offices. While you see most other offices with a department head and a deputy or assistant, I felt that because of so many redundancies in job duties, there really would be no need for a deputy any longer. So what better time to further decrease positions in an office other than following a retirement? So because our deputy is retiring later this year, I'm choosing to not backfill that position, causing another staffing decrease to a level of 2.5. May people have to wait in line a little longer from time to time? Sure. But we now offer so many other methods of payment, I feel that those that choose to pay in person should come to expect that. Something we do in the tax office that people may not yet be aware of is issue the bulky waste transfer station permits. We just claimed that service from the Highway Department effective this past January 1st, and I think it's going really well so far. At this time, we are issuing those permits during all regular business hours, but I would encourage people to try and obtain those permits prior to July 1st, if at all possible, since we will continue to issue them after July 1st, but then people will have to compete with the masses that come to pay their taxes in person, and you'll definitely have to wait in line at that point. What I'm most proud of in terms of my tax office team is that even with the decrease in staffing levels and even with the sour mood of some of our taxpayers occasionally, they tend to all taxpayers kindly and compassionately every single day. We can now go through the line items for the tax office if you want.
So let's do it.
Yeah? It's pretty, I mean.
Just high level,
Yeah.
any major change.
I mean, the salaries obviously are going to change because we are gaining a dedicated tax collector, but losing the deputy tax collector. And I did get a little bit of additional money for my temp seasonal, so that during the month of July, when we're short, one person at the counter, hopefully we'll be able to get some seasonal help for that. And then everything else looks pretty straightforward. Collection services, I had a pretty significant decrease because we were carrying an amount to pay for marshal service to handle our tax sales. But since we have recently contracted with an attorney to do that, we no longer have that expense because all of the attorney's fees and expenses are recuperated at the sale. I think there might be some, yep, on the back. My office supply budget went up just a little bit, and then dues and conferences increased because we are now needing to get recertification credit hours, and all the costs have gone up, from dues to the conferences we have to attend, to classes, road shows, everything that they offer has increased in price. So that's pretty straightforward from the tax office. Any questions?
Okay. No, thank you.
Yeah, so,
And thanks for your help with those tax programs, too, the side project we're working on.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep going with that.
Okay, good. The second department I'm speaking on is the assessor's office. The assessor's office is responsible for discovering, listing, and valuing all property in town. We accomplish that with the help of real estate revaluations, personal property declarations, and motor vehicle registrations. In terms of cost savings in the assessor's office, I'll be frank and admit that we really have not had the opportunity to take advantage of innovation in order to save money. And most all of the functions that we do take care of in the assessor's office are mandated by state statute, so there's really no fat to trim from that budget. However, in the next year, our software provider will be rolling out a new electronic personal property declaration filing module. So we're going to start, we have plans to start rolling that out to the new businesses that first year, and then every year after that, increasing the number of people that receive that electronic notification.
So you can choose who uses it. You could roll it out. It's not
We're going to
just-
roll it out in phases. We can't
Okay.
do all 2,300 because that would just be too
But
overwhelming.
you get to pick them?
No, I wouldn't pick them necessarily. It's just the first year, we would only roll it out to the new businesses since
Okay.
they don't have anything else to compare the process to.
Gotcha.
And then we'd be able to work out the kinks and move forward from there. So hopefully the next year, we'd put more of them on board, and it would be a much smoother process that way. The assessor's office is responsible for accepting applications for all the state and local assessment benefits available to our residents. And lately, we have seen a revolving door of new legislation, as well as amendments to existing legislation, some of which may affect the 24 grand list, which we're discussing now. Which brings me to what I'm most proud of, and that is the ability of my assessment staff to quickly adjust to curveballs thrown at them on a regular basis. Curveballs which cause them to have to familiarize themselves frequently with new legislation, curveballs which change the way they interact with taxpayers, and which make it very difficult to keep track of who qualifies for what at any given time, because they're constantly changing the laws. They're very adaptable, though, and they handle it with grace, so I'm appreciative of that. So, line items for the assessor's office. The only well, we had a couple big increases. The boot allowance, I was only allowing for one employee, but now that I'm going to be leaving both the assessor and the deputy assessor and one of the clerks who handle the easier inspections, but still has to be outside in the elements. So we're going to be budgeting for 3 to get the boot allowance. It's a small amount, but it looks like a really crazy increase.
Yeah,
So I
percent.
just
No.
wanted to explain that. Reval services, we're going through a full measure and list revaluation now, which I've been budgeting for the past 5 years. Going forward, though, the next 5-year reval for 2030 is going to be just a statistical revaluation, so it's going to cost less. So that line item has decreased significantly in what we're putting away each year. And contracted services has increased also, because that includes the amount that we are paying our personal property auditor. We have had a really, really successful first season of personal property audits, and there's only one that is going to the Board of Assessment Appeals. But we have billed out $345,000 in additional revenue just from that one personal property audit. So it's a great tool, and it gets us online to more accurately reflect the level of assets that we have that should be declared in town.
That's a total of 3 years.
Yeah.
So next year, you will only see 100,000.
Next year, because it's a rotating schedule of businesses that, so we're gonna be utilizing the audit numbers going forward, and then there's gonna be a new batch of accounts that will go back current year plus 2. So it might even be more next year that we see in the personal property audits, but it's working out really well. The vendor's terrific. And I got the system down now, so it should be pretty smooth going forward. We do have a little more, don't we? But nothing big. So I choose to move forward, if that's okay. Any questions on assessment? Okay. So the final department I'm speaking on tonight is the Board of Assessment Appeals, or as we lovingly call it, BA. So BA is an independent town board comprised of 3 appointed members, which hears taxpayer appeals of property assessment. Connecticut state statute dictates how the board may conduct their business, and they meet twice a year, once in March after the grand list is signed and increased notices have been mailed, and again in September after the motor vehicle bills are sent. The budget for the Board of Assessment Appeals is a relatively small one, but you'll notice that the stipend line item has increased by 809%. That's because the number of appeals following a revaluation could be 10 times higher than in a non-reval year, and the committee has historically been compensated accordingly, so we had to bump that one up a little bit. And that's all I got.
So the folks,
How are they compensated?
There's a line item in my budget to compensate them.
Is it by item?
Typically, on a non-reval year, we just take the amount that is budgeted and divide it by 3 by 2, because they meet twice a year.
So it's a straight stipend.
You're welcome.
the same kind of question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And next, we have the Recreation Department, which includes youth services and senior services.
Right. So we're actually, let's put this here. We're going to start with Calendar House, and then John's going to come up for youth
Just
services.
pull the microphone down a little bit so we
Sure.
capture it all. Thank you.
Is that better?
That-
Okay.
That's
All right.
better.
All right.
It's more for the camera and the video.
Sure, yeah.
I could hear you fine.
Okay, good. So my name is Dawn Sargis, and I took over the role of director for the Calendar House Senior Center in November when Dave LaPre took on the additional role of superintendent for Highway and Parks. I've been working at the Senior Center since 2008 in various roles. Prior to becoming director, I want to thank you for having me here tonight to review Calendar House and the proposed budget. So I'll begin with an overview of the department. Calendar House has 6 full-time union employees, including myself. We have a program coordinator, an administrative assistant 2, a combined role of administrative assistant 1/bus driver, and then 2 additional full-time bus drivers. Part-time non-union employees, we have 2 additional backup drivers, a clerk/dispatcher for our front desk, instructors for our art, enrichment, and exercise classes, a morning maintenance person, and an evening custodian. So currently about 16 people on our payroll. The Calendar House Senior Center has been designated a focal point in the community by the North Central Area Agency on Aging. The center is for Southington residents 55 and older, or residents over the age of 18 who are receiving Social Security disability benefits. We currently have over 6,300 registered members, and we continue to grow every month. Just in January, we had 60 new members join the senior center, and I took a look over the past 6 months. We averaged 40 new members each month. One of the questions that you posed for us to prepare for this workshop is something that we do or a service that we provide that folks may not be aware of. I think that the public is generally very aware of the typical things that a senior center brings to the community. But I think the thing that they would be surprised about is just the vast number of things that Calendar House actually provides. We're not here just for bingo, although that is very popular. Our main purpose is to provide resources, services, and activities that meet the needs of older adults and disabled individuals in our community. To do that, we assist individuals with applying for state programs such as energy assistance, the Renters Rebate Program, the Medicare Savings Program, SNAP, and Husky. We provide choices insurance counseling for Medicare and offer guidance on how to apply for Social Security benefits. We offer a wide array of recreational activities, group exercise classes, line dancing, tap dancing, yoga, cardio drumming, sit and be fit. We have a full gym with cardio equipment and strength training equipment. We offer pickleball, pool playing, ping pong, a golf league. We have a walking trail around the building and a walking hiking group that meets, goes to various locations in town and throughout the state. We encourage lifelong learning and creativity by offering classes in the arts, including a weekly open art studio, classes that include drawing, acrylic painting, poetry, quilting, other one-time art classes, workshops such as needle felting, collage making, and paint pouring. If you haven't visited the center, I'd encourage you to do that. You can take a walk down our main hallway, and there's a lot of art on display that was created by our members. We offer relevant computer classes to keep seniors up to date with the latest technology. We keep people involved by offering opportunities for social interactions, and that may mean something as simple as coming to the senior center, going to the library, working on a puzzle, joining a group like Granny Squares, learning how to knit or crochet, or maybe a veteran coming in for the monthly coffee hour. We keep people engaged with cards and games, including setback, cribbage, bridge, mahjong, canasta, Scrabble, and of course, Friday afternoon bingo, that very popular activity, and that draws in usually about 100 people every week. We provide support groups, health talks and screenings for people, sometimes even for pets. We actually have a low-cost veterinary clinic happening this Friday at the center. If you're interested in travel, we have a trip desk. They always have an exciting opportunity to sign up for. We have a very active membership association, and they subsidize and sponsor numerous social activities during the year, as well as additional talks and programming, and provide opportunities for volunteering. We regularly work with other town departments such as community services, youth services for intergenerational programming, and the health department, as well as community partners such as AARP to provide educational talks, classes, additional services like the tax aid program, which we are currently in the thick of right now. But by far, our largest program, and the one personally I am the most proud of, would be our Dial-A-Ride transportation service. It's a valuable program for the members of our community that are not able to transport themselves. The new CT Transit bus line is a great addition to town, but they don't provide the same curb-to-curb service that the Dial-A-Ride transportation provides. So we provide necessary transportation for doctor and dental appointments, employment, shopping, personal errands, and it also ensures that the most vulnerable members of our community are able to continue to stay connected by bringing them to Calendar House for socialization, for the activities that I already mentioned, and for services such as the congregate meal program. In addition to what Dial-A-Ride offers to the community, I'm proud of our staff. They work together to provide the service. It takes a lot of coordination. Everybody has a hand in it on our staff, and they all do an excellent job. He's not here tonight, but a member of your board, Mr. Pocock, has driven for us for more years than I've worked there. So he can attest, to the fact that Dial-A-Ride, it's very much a team effort at Calendar House. I know he's as proud of the program as I am. We provide about, on average, 1,000 one-way rides per month in and out of town. We have 5 registered service buses in our fleet, and 4 of those 5 buses were acquired with Section 5310 grants through the Connecticut DOT. So we can take a look at the budget. If you do look at it, the percent change says 100%, which is not accurate. So the reason for that, over the past few fiscal years. Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry.
That's okay.
We got to get on this.
No
same
problem.
Page, literally.
So you're going to see 100% change on all the line items. The reason for that is over the past few fiscal years, we have gradually combined with the Recreation Department, and now we are unwinding from that. So these line items actually haven't really been used. They weren't used at all last year. I think they were used partially the year before. But I can tell you that, the amounts in these line items are no frills. There's not really too much change to them. We are fortunate to receive funds from the Connecticut DOT with the state matching program for elderly and disabled demand responsive transportation. And there are notations in the line items that are affected with that. We currently get a grant amount of $54,699, and that is to be utilized for some operating and administrative costs for the Dial-A-Ride program. Do you want to go through line by line, or?
No, just the highlights.
Okay. All right, so as I said, there's really no changes. So, regular wages, that's all by contract. Temporary seasonal, that's going to be for our part-time backup drivers, for that dispatcher that I was talking about. It's going to be for our exercise instructors and our art class instructors, the evening custodian, and the morning maintenance person. Overtime pay, bulk of that is going to be for drivers, and there is some amount in there for staff for activities, programs, evening activities, weekend activities that we may do. Longevity, that's per contract. The stipend is for the municipal agent. Boot allowance is per contract. Under binding and microfilming, we do have that set up. We do have a small contingency in there for the publication of our monthly newsletter. We use Liturgical Publishers, Inc. We're very fortunate that right now it is fully supported by advertisers, but if that were to change, we want to make sure that we can still get that, out to our members. It's our biggest form of communication with them. So we want to have some funds in there in case we, need to dip into that if we lose some advertiser support. Let's see. Under program services, the biggest bulk part of that line item is going to be for one of our art instructors that we are not able to pay as an employee. And Chrissy may be able to speak to that a little bit more. She has a business, so we're not able to put her on payroll. So that money comes out of program services. And then, of course, we have some money in there for, DJ services, entertainment, speakers for programs. Building maintenance and equipment maintenance. There hasn't been much change really to that, other than we moved some of the dollar amounts around. We took some of the money that was in equipment maintenance and moved it to building maintenance, just because they felt that the line items weren't accurately reflecting, where they should be. But the dollar amounts have not changed much for that. Vehicle maintenance, again, that is something that, for our Dial a Ride service buses, and that is something that's supplemented by the matching grant. Utilities, we haven't had any change with that. Gasoline, also supplemented by the matching grant, no change with that. And we had no change with our office supplies, program supplies. Dues and conferences, we had a little bit of an increase because we are going to be seeing that the dues for CASP, CAMA, they weren't charging for those during the pandemic, but those charges have come back now. Any questions? You're good?
We're good, we're good.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave,
He says he's next.
says he's next.
Well-
You got to fight with the fire department.
Good evening. What I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce John Ishmael to come up and do the youth services budget. John is in the supervisors union, is our youth service coordinator. I am the overall director of the youth services department, but John is the day-to-day supervisor. So I want John to come up. I want to introduce him to you guys and go over the budget and what the department does.
Good evening, John Ishmael. I just happy to be here. So I am the supervisor of the Youth Services Department. We consist of two counselors, a counselor 1 and a counselor 2, and a youth prevention coordinator. We work with the children and families throughout the community in several capacities, through counseling, through programming, Juvenile Review Board, Youth Diversion Team, truancy, attendance support, and then the STEPS Coalition, which is our substance misuse prevention and asset building. There's also a youth board that goes with that. Community partnerships, one of the strongest ones we have is with the Board of Ed, and whatever else lands on our plate that day. A service that we provide that many folks may not be aware of is our Juvenile Review Board and our Youth Diversion Team. So as the state of Connecticut is swinging the pendulum back, they're putting the onus on the communities to oversee any type of juvenile arrests, any type of citation work, and it allows us to connect with those kids and families that, need a little bit more support just based on, poor decision making. So the majority of those arrests and citations come right through us, and we take the place of juvenile court. We also work with the Board of Ed on a truancy committee, again, to offer children and families another support within the town that's not under the Board of Ed. The thing that I'm most proud of in regards to our department is that our two counselors have been here for a combined 75 years. Our prevention coordinator and myself grew up in this community, and we get to really put our heads down and devote our working lives and our lives to supporting the youth and children in this in this community. That may be hard to quantify at times, but we just kind of stay steadfast and put our heads down and offer any type of needs that we are ready to provide and guide families with the resources that our great community has. In regards to controlling costs, outside of our salaries, we operate on a pretty tight budget. The majority of our operating costs are fulfilled through grants. On our side, we have an enhancement grant from DCF. We also have a supplemental grant, and we have a juvenile review board grant. And as far as the STEP side of it, they have opioid settlement funds, grants that include prevention of Connecticut communities. They just applied for a number of other grants, one of them Partnership for Success. They have a local prevention council and just got a SMART grant as well. As far as the town items, I'd be happy to go into those right now with you guys.
And we don't have to get,
No,
You're good?
It doesn't look
Yeah,
like
good.
there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
salaries, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so outside of that, everything else has stayed the same.
it's nice to see stuff internally grant funded too.
Yeah.
But it seems like you do a lot.
We try to, as much as we could, whatever
Every
comes our
day a
way.
busy day, or does
Yeah.
it come in?
I mean, it depends. It gets a little slower during the summertime, where that's where we try to ramp up some programming stuff. But our counselors are working in the schools. We have kids coming to the offices every day. I'm in the schools, I'm in the community, I'm doing a couple partnerships with, other things as well. So, some days could be really, really busy, some days could be a little bit slower, but it all kind of balances itself out, but there's always something to kind of work at, so.
So your offices are actually in,
Nope, we're downtown at the Municipal Center, right down at the end of the hall. Yeah. So, thank you,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank your counselors and your team.
much appreciated.
Okay, so I'll cover the Recreation Department right now. The Rec Department consists of myself, an administrative assistant, and until most recently, we added a new position that is combined also with the Highway Department, that is an assistant superintendent of highway, or of Parks and Recreation. With some of the restructuring that was going on, we thought this was a good time to create this position to, obviously, the park side, we're quite busy, but to also help on the recreation side. For a rec department in a community of our size, operating with 2 employees is pretty much unheard of, to be honest with you. So now that individual is David Voisin. He was an employee at one point of the Highway Department, moved over to the Engineering Department for a few years as an inspector. He has a degree in Parks and Recreation as well, from the University of Maine, so he's a great addition to our staff. He's ramped up on the park side, also assisting with the highway, and I'm slowly filtering him over to the recreation side as
So
we
he's
start.
following in your footsteps.
Somewhat, yes.
Because I remember
yes.
back when Gary Brumback said, this guy's got a master's degree in recreation.
Yeah, it just happened to work out where,
Launched your career.
yes, yeah, so David's going to be a great fit, and he's
Good.
doing a fantastic job. So like I said, we're going to get him going now that our spring, summer months are kicking in. That's when we're quite busy on the rec side. He's going to be helping out tremendously there. So the rec department, we're primarily program generated. We offer a lot of programs, multitude of programs for youth, for adults. We offer special events in town that take place. The department also assists with booking the turf field. We handle all the rentals for that come in from the community and outside groups. We sponsor the youth leagues in town. Some people think that we actually control these youth leagues. That could be the youth basketball, baseball, football. We are a sponsor of them. They have their own boards. They run independently, but the rec department sponsors them. I book their field space, help them with that, assist them in the schools with booking space there because they utilize that as well. I just want to give you a scope of some of the programs that we did last year. I'm going to read through them quickly. For a department, like I said, with 2 of us, primarily for the past 20 years or 18 years since I've been there on the rec side, this is what we offered in 2024. Adult fitness, adult basketball. We give out, and this is in no particular order, we give out bow hunting permits. Bow hunting is allowed at Crescent Lake during hunting season. Field hockey, fundamentals of running, golf lessons, intro to farm camp, kickboxing. We offer a kids' entertainment series, martial arts, pickleball for youth and adults, spring, summer, fall. We have one of our main programs, Playground Summer Camp. Takes place in the summer for 6 weeks. Skyhawks multi-sport camps, track and field camp, spring, summer, fall, men's and women's softball, STEAM camp using Lego, swim lessons, tennis for youth and adults all throughout the 3 major seasons, a big-time youth theater program that takes place in the summer, nutritional program that we partner through ShopRite, girls volleyball, yoga in the park, yoga in the water at the pools in the summer, Zumba, music on the green, some special events in town, Christmas in the Village, Halloween in the Village, the holiday tree lighting, the Light Up the Green contest, Santa's Jolly Holiday, Touch a Truck, which we sponsor and we help out and coordinate that with the Legion, pavilion rental and permits, we handle all that in the parks, the rentals of those, all the field rentals in the parks, as well as, lastly, the community sign. You'll see that in the end of the town green. All those permits and the bookings of those go through our department. So that's a quick overview of not everything from last year, but the majority of things that we did last year and will spill over to this year. We're always adding new programs as we see fit. I reach out to certain vendors. Obviously, we don't have the staff to put on these programs ourselves and man them. We work with vendors for that. So quite a bit, I believe, for the staff that we have, and I'm pretty proud of that. Something innovative that is cost savings, and this goes back years ago. At one point, all of the programs within the rec department were through our budget, funded through taxpayer dollars. I would say it was probably 7, 8 years ago when we created a rec fund, which means that programs are self-supporting. This is not part of the general budget. It's set aside in the finance department rec fund. It revolves every year. All programming and revenues come into that account and filter through it that way. So when I started many years ago on the rec side, I think the budget for rec was near 800,000. Right now, it's a little over 300,000, and that's 17, 18 years later. So proud of that. We're continuing that moving forward, and any new programs that we offer, everything goes right through that fund. Service we provide that people may not know of, it's a tough one from the rec side. We're primarily, like I said, program generated, but we're open to, I'm always, like I said, contacting outside vendors. I look through other towns to see what they're doing, reach out to folks and try to incorporate new programs. What I'm most proud of for the rec department is obviously what we accomplish with our team. I'm very team-oriented. I'll comment on that on the Highway Park side as well, but we have a good thing going. It's going to get better with DJ on board, so I'm looking forward to the future of the rec department going forward. On the budget side, as Dawn had mentioned, this is a little skewed because it was combined with the Calendar House for the last couple of years. Nothing here that is really out of the norm compared to 3 years ago when the rec was set aside. The temp seasonal account, that is high compared to a few years ago. Obviously, minimum wage increases took place many times over the last several years and continue to do so. Those staffings are for lifeguards for both pools, our youth theater program, et cetera. So I think that's a solid number that we have for this year. Obviously, bringing it out separately from Calendar House, now we're going to have a better look at things as we move forward through this year. Like I said, there's nothing major here that I think is eye-catching, but if you guys have any questions on any of the line items, let me know. Going into on page, or the community celebrations count, these are for Memorial Day and Veterans Day celebrations. This has been in the budget for many years, and it goes through the town manager's office. $3,500 for Memorial Day celebrations and Veterans Day celebration of $500. That has stayed the same and continues to do so. And then lastly, the organized recreation. These are the subsidies we give to our youth leagues in town. There are, I believe, 11 youth leagues that we subsidize. These subsidies help offset their costs to try to keep their registrations low for our residents in the community. It could go toward their insurance that they take out, their referees, umpires, equipment, et cetera. That 83,947 has been consistent for the past 3 or 4 years. I think this year, working with, and John, you may remember, we looked at this a little closer with the Park and Rec Commission on divvying up these dollars. So we're going to be getting more info from each league again this year.
So it's more on usage, right? Who's,
Usage, how many involved in each league, what their budgets look like year to year as well. So,
do they still provide us financials? Remember one year we just wanted to be sure we
yep,
had.
that's
controls
what I'm
over
referring
cash?
to. So I do get that from them yearly, but I think it's time that the Park and Rec Board does look at this closer again, possibly readjust things in whatever way they see fit, so. So that's all I have on rec side. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Good service to the
Thank you. I mean, it's
town.
been
Yeah, Rob.
years we've been going over these same
Yeah.
things, but it's great programs. I think the kids in town are well-served
Yes.
when you hear about,
Yep.
and adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we'll start as low as programs 3 years old up through seniors,
And
so.
over the years, I've taken some of them, my kids have been in them, and it's just, I think we have a really, really good community when you look at it.
Thanks, yep. Okay.
Thank you.
I know Public Works, yeah, for the next slide, I can take the highway parks right now while I'm here.
Okay, let's do it.
Kari and Jim can go. Okay, so highway parks, as you heard, as in November, I took over for overseeing the highway parks as well as recreation.
Tell me, just before, is it one department now? We still call it highway parks. Is there a better name for it, or do we still have two departments kind of co-managed? What does the org structure look like?
No, it's one department. It's called highway parks, yeah.
Got it.
Yep. And then, like I said, also I oversee the recreation, so that's recreation, that office. Julia,
Separate.
my assistant, is up at the Calendar House where we moved when I took that over several years back. But my main office is down at the highway parks, and I float back and forth to the rec. The highway parks department consists of 34 employees, not including myself. That is with the addition of David Voisin, the assistant superintendent of Parks and Recreation. I'm going to give you some things that the department does and maintains. Obviously, I'll comment on winter maintenance, the plowing and treating of roads, the clearing of all the municipal buildings, the fire departments, the police department, library, Barnes Museum. We're all responsible for taking care of those. We also oversee the coordination of all the school access walks. The Highway Parks Department does maintain many sidewalks in town for snow clearing, but we can't do it all. So there is a list that we have 2 contractors. They handle school access walks as well. We coordinate calling those folks in when needed. There are times when we ourselves can do it if it's a light storm. We try to be cost effective with our budget. But on the bigger storms, we just don't have the time to do it. That's when we call in the contractors. The department also does pothole repair all year long. Primarily now, roads are, with these last freeze, it's quite bad out there. We're filling potholes today on West Street. By 2 hours later, between the water flowing down the road, cars driving over it, we're going back repairing those. So it's going to be that way for a little bit. We hope residents are patient. We're out there with 2-3 crews daily right now, trying to keep up with that. We replace curbing.
If I can just interrupt you, what do you use for patching in the cold weather like that?
Yeah, it's not a hot, obviously, the asphalt plants, most of them are closed right now. It's more of a cold type patch. We can still access some of the hot stuff when needed. If we run into an issue where something's not sticking right, we'll go to that road. But right now, it's primarily the cold stuff, so.
Does it work okay?
It does, but it's, when you got the water, like I said, you got a lot of melting going on now. On the high-traffic roads, when cars are going over, it does loosen it up. So we just got to be cognizant that we're packing it properly. And then we're going to be checking up on these over the next 2 weeks until things dry out and we lose this cold weather that we had, which it seems to be breaking, so.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So thank you.
Nope, no problem. The department also, this time of year, with the plowing, inspecting a mailbox, unfortunately, that happens. Not intentional. I know it's not something a resident wants to see or have done to their mailbox, all of our.
Is it the heavy snow hitting it, or is it the
Primarily,
plow
it
itself?
is, yeah, this last storm with the rain and the heavy stuff, we tell our drivers, you gotta go slow, but you can't go too slow when you're plowing stuff like that. It happens, snow does hit it, it's heavy, it'll break a box off. There are times that our drivers in the heavy snowfall backing up may back into one too, so it's a little bit of both, obviously not intentional, but we inspect those. When a call comes in, we get staff out there, look at it, leave them the proper form. There is a reimbursement for that if we approve it.
So they replace it, you
The town does
reimburse?
reimburse, yes. A certain dollar, I think it's $75 for the whole thing or $50 for a top or base. We also do a lot of roadside trash pickup year-round. I would say since I got there, I have seen that increase tremendously. And we're only talking a few months. So weekly, we have crews out there probably 2-3 days spot checking the town. We break it into quadrants, how they're hitting it, trying to keep up with the debris on the side of the roads trash-wise. Obviously, it's not a good look. We don't want our residents looking at that, and we also don't want folks coming into town seeing that either. The transfer station, that's another big duty of ours. We oversee that. Fall leaf collection, that is, as you all know, that runs for four cycles. We have 4 zones. This past year, I'll comment on it while I'm up here. I know in the beginning of the year, it was quite dusty out there. Our units do shred it. With the dry weather we had, it was just abnormal that it happened that way. There was no water on them, it was dusty, and this did not just happen here. During that time, that was right when I came on board, I reached out to several surrounding towns that use the same type of units. They're dealing with the same type of thing. We tried to curb that with putting tarps over them that we had in place. That did help out. But, we talk about residents being patient. I know it's frustrating for folks, but we're always trying to be cognizant of our residents, and we don't like to make a mess, but we're trying to accomplish the job that we have to as well. Road paving projects, that is something, and I'm proud to say, that this year, in conjunction with the engineering department and their staff, it's been a total team effort on putting together the road list and how we're going to go about proceeding for this year. Engineering did a fantastic job with that. David Norris, Jim Grappone, putting together the list and using StreetLogics and the street scan stuff. And our staff at the highway getting out there, walking and seeing these roads that were selected, seeing if they were needed or not. There were several on there that it came out from the street scan that it needed it. We looked at it and deferred it. It wasn't needed. So I think moving forward, the teamwork between the departments is critical, and I think it's going to be a good collaboration. Department also does a lot of drainage repairs, tree work. We inspect trees. There are a lot of complaints that come in from residents. Right now, we do not have, I'm going to have 2 designated tree wardens. That's going to be our 2 assistant superintendents, Brandon Petito and David Voisin. They'll be taking that class. So any calls that come in from residents of a dead tree that possibly may be on their property, we'll get out there, look at it, decide if it has to come down, work with engineering to see if it is a town tree. They'll get out their surveyors to shoot a line and verify that. We cut back sight lines on roads, brush removal on the roads. That goes on most of the season. We're doing that right now when we can, when the weather allows, and continue that through the summer. Prune trees downtown. You'll see these trees along Center Street, North Main Street. Our staff takes care of that once a year. All the plantings in town on the green and surrounding buildings. Maintaining both town pools, opening and the closing of them, as well as maintaining those throughout the year. That's a daily thing our staff takes care of, as well as the restrooms in all the parks. We also line stripe all the fields for the youth leagues that are playing per season. Put up holiday decorations on the town greens. They assist with Apple Harvest Festival. And lastly, our in-house mechanics maintain our fleet, as well as a lot of other vehicles in town departments that need work on. We don't do the police department right now. There's a little bit separate, but you could have an engineering vehicle that needs some work. Our staff and our mechanics will take care of that, building department, et cetera. Cost savings, something innovative for that. What I proposed this year in the capital improvement plan is I'm requesting the purchase for an asphalt hot box. This is, we do a lot of, obviously I said a lot of pothole repair, basins. In the summer, we're out there repairing basins, digging trenches, et cetera. So we're using a lot of asphalt. In the past, our staff has been going to Tilcon or wherever to pick up the asphalt. Could be 1.5 tons per truck that they're putting it on. That asphalt may go to waste in a day or two. It gets hard, it goes to waste. That over time and through a year could add up to quite a bit of money being lost. So I researched and our staff looked into an asphalt hot box. This will generate it. You can plug it in the garage. It's 4 ton. It'll store the asphalt, keep it heated. And
What do they do? Dump into it and scoop out of it?
dump into it, and then we take out of it, right? But it could last for well over a month, 2 months. So this will take away from losing asphalt when it goes to waste in a day or two, as well as saving on our staff having to travel to Tilcon or wherever every day to go pick up asphalt. So
Plug it into an outlet?
that's it. Yep. Yep, so that, like I said, is in the capital improvement plan. Another service that we're not aware of, that's another tricky one. I think folks think we do pretty much everything maintenance-wise in town, which we do a lot, like I mentioned, but there's nothing really that sticks out to me. One thing that is strange that you may think of is we assist with evictions. If there is an eviction where a sheriff is needed in town, our staff will assist with that eviction. We have a storage box on site if stuff has to come out of that house or apartment. It's stored on site for a period of time. If it's not claimed, then it's gone. But that is something that the Highway Parks Department does take
That's
care
been
of.
for a long time?
Been for a long time, yep. I'm most proud of, once again, our staff. We have a committed staff. We have a lot of great guys up there. They put in long hours, as you had mentioned. This winter has been quite extreme. We haven't had many huge storms, but the icing and the treating that was needed took up a lot of times, a lot of weekends. I think it was the last 3 or 4 Sundays they were out there for long stretches of time. Guys put in a lot of hours there. They're committed to it. And my goal with all these guys is to get the most out of them. I want them to come to work and be happy in what they're doing, take pride in what they're doing, and that will reflect on the jobs getting done. So, yeah, staff-wise, I'm proud of these guys. Going through the budget, I didn't tweak this much at all from the previous year. I really need to see this through one full cycle. I didn't see anything that stuck out to me that really needed to be increased. You'll see regular wages increased about 8%, but that was due to my salary being included, as well as the second assistant superintendent being added. A couple meal allowance went down a bit because some staff moved around. That's all contractual. And primarily, that's it on the highway park side. There's really nothing that changed. Transfer station, but bulky waste budget stayed the same. Snow and ice stayed the same. I will comment on snow and ice. We used a lot of product this year. We try to minimize how much we're putting down at times. We can dial back our trucks and how much is going down. Brandon Petito, our Assistant Superintendent of Highway, really did a great job trying to maintain putting down the right amount, but not cheating it where we're putting our residents at risk out there. But we did go through it did tap into our snow and ice budget this year, and I'll be meeting with the town manager to go over that a little bit more, probably this week or next week. But this was an extreme year. Compared to last year, we had 6 events that staff was out there treating. This year, we're already at 14. So you doubled it. And they were long hours and a lot of double time hours too on Sundays. So the tree account, that is the last one. I did raise that, and I went up to 45,000 from 36,000. We are quite low right now. We do a lot of tree work. There's a lot of stuff that has been put on the back burner.
Is that outsourced tree work?
We do it in-house if we can, but if, there's a lot of stuff out there that we can't do. We don't have a bucket truck, so, and if it's on a side of a road with wire, stuff like that, we have to contract it out. So
Do we have
That is-
chippers?
we have chippers, yeah, yep. So we do what we can, but this is for what we're contracting out. And I increased that to 45,000 this year because, like I said, there is some stuff that has been put on the back burner that really needs to get taken care of. And there's some safety things out there that we don't want some stuff falling on a house. That's our responsibility, so. And that's all I have on that side. Any questions?
I did.
Yeah.
First, I want to commend you. You do a great job. We're not getting any less. Like a new road somewhere. My little skint off. Software that scanned the. Are they still using that?
Yes. Yep.
Is there a cost to that?
No, to use the transfer, there is no cost.
No, cost of the software that they're using.
I believe that's handled through IT, yes.
We used to get reports.
Sunday morning today for a special,
Yeah, there is reporting we have to do through the state on some things. But it primarily does count the cars coming in. Stuff, it won't track what they're really going for, dropping off for. It could be for,
Repeatedly or anything.
exactly, if there's any commercial type stuff going through, it's trying to keep track of that stuff.
and we have reviewed some of the data. There's a few, I'll call them repeat offenders, have been notified. Uses, and then we did some. So we're working.
That's the information that would hope we would be using it for.
Yeah, there may be, with Mitch Gugliotti, he has a lot of innovative ways too. So moving forward, there may be a better way to go about things down there too that we'll look into.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Jim, do you want to come up for the rest of Public Works?
Thank you. Jim Grappone, Acting Town Engineer. Thank you for having us here to present the engineering and sewer admin budget. Our mission statement is to provide technical engineering assistance to town departments, boards, and commissions, and to the general public. Engineering department has 7 employees. There was one extra employee, as Mr. LaPre mentioned. Now that salary is in his budget. So here's some of the services we provide. In-house design of town projects. We plan review for planning and zoning applications and zoning permits. We process excavation and sewer permits. We oversee consultant design projects such as bridge rehabilitation, multi-use trail, road and wastewater treatment projects. We provide in-house surveying, inspect private and town construction projects. We oversee the MS4 stormwater general permit through Connecticut DEP, which is an unfunded mandate. We process sewer billing and payments, send out delinquent sewer billing notices, provide sewer account information for closings. We follow up on drainage issues, streetlight outages and requests for streetlights, sewer backups, tree complaints, roadway pavement conditions for determining road improvements. We assist with bidding for town services, and we're ex officio members of the Public Works Committee, Sewer Committee, Transportation Committee, Apple Harvest Committee, Southington High School Roof Replacement Building Committee, and we serve on the CROGS Transportation Committee. So we wear a lot of hats. As far as the engineering budget, happy to say we're reducing it from the current fiscal year to the proposed budget. The current budget is $733,910, and the proposed budget is going to be reduced to $617,738. Four main areas for the decrease is our regular wages were decreased due to reorganization. We reduced overtime budget, meal allowances, and there's a reduction in dues and conferences. We also do a sewer admin fund, which is part of the 500-30011 account, which is the sewer fund. We have 2 employees, as I mentioned before, that are in charge of sewer billing and accounts receivable on those payments. That is a increase from this budget. The increase is due to contractual payroll increases, auditing services, contracted services, basically due to the increase in the number of bills going out quarterly, and increases in postage as a result of that. I'd like to also say that the department is proactive and works hard in getting project grants. Some of the grants that we've worked on are the Plantsville intersection safety improvements, where we were able to attain over $5.6 million for that project. Marion Avenue Bridge over Humiston Brook, $1.4 million. ADA townwide sidewalk improvement grant for $970,000. Sorry about that. Rails to Trails from Lazy Lane to Aircraft was $2.5 million. Pending committed fund letters submitted to from Connecticut DOT include Marion Avenue Bridge over unnamed stream for $2.2 million, Newell Street Bridge for $3.1 million, and we're working on the Rails to Trails right now from Aircraft to Plainville Town Line, which would complete the Rails to Trails in its entirety for Southington. The 2024 LOTSA solicitation, we were able to commit for East Street reconstruction at $1.4 million and 3 bridges on South End Road over Misery Brook at just over $900,000. So with the expenses that we outlay or you outlay for engineering department, we pretty much more bring in a good fair amount of money through state and federal grants. Capital budget we're also involved with. Included this year is the HVAC and generator replacement, repair and replacement of sidewalk program, we're involved with that. LoSiP resurfacing and town aid, we work with the highway department to determine which projects would be eligible under that. townwide paving project, which is parking lots. And we also, roof replacement, we have a project in for next year, which is the Historical Society. So I can go through, if you have any questions on each individual item, but what I'm most proud of is again, you probably heard it from every department, they're very happy with their staff. I have an extremely grateful staff. They're hardworking, and right now, I could say we're too understaffed, and we're doing just as much work as we did last year with less staff. So I'm available for questions.
What do you do without them?
It's only because there's no real construction going on in the winter months, so we're down at we're down in inspector, and we're the reorganization, there's 2 assistant town engineers in the current budget, and we decided to go with an EIT, which was in the previous engineering budget, which is a lower, he would be an engineer, but a step before a P, which
Is that
is an
something new?
engineer.
Have we ever done that before?
It's been done in previous budgets.
Okay.
Yeah, so an engineer in training, that person would work his or her way up to becoming a professional engineer, which is basically
So the licensing requirements as apprentice for so long?
very likely, very the same, yep. Yeah, there's a lot of engineering jobs out there at the present time.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kari Williams, Superintendent of the Water Pollution Control Facility. Before I get into the budget, just want to say thanks for having me here to present the budget, and also thank you for reviewing and your consideration in the sewer operating budget. A little bit about what we do at the Water Pollution Control Facility is we pretty much take all of the water that leaves homes, businesses, restaurants, and we remove any hazardous material before discharging this water back into the environment. One service or special aspect that I'd like to highlight, calendar year 2024, we treated over 2.28 billion gallons of water. So we
Billion.
treated a lot of water. It was a pretty rainy season last year, or pretty rainy year. Something that we've done to drive effectiveness or efficiency in this year's budget, have to kind of go back to fiscal year 2023 when we requested an appropriation for $261,000 for a phosphorus analyzer project. The purpose of this project was to install 2 orthophosphate analyzers to help us monitor the performance of the newly constructed phosphorus removal building, and also to fine-tune our dosage of a chemical that we use for phosphorus removal named polyaluminum chloride. Calendar year 2024, which was last year, was our first time using this equipment during phosphorus removal season. The year prior to that, calendar year 2023, we purchased 47,857 gallons of polyaluminum chloride, and we exceeded our discharge limits of total phosphorus twice because we didn't have the equipment to monitor the building. Fast forward to last year, calendar year 2024, which was our first year operating the phosphorus removal building with this new equipment. We purchased 34,833 gallons of polyaluminum chloride. That's a difference of 13,024 gallons. Right now, polyaluminum chloride is currently going for $3.63 per gallon. So that ended up being a total savings of $47,277 the first year. So kind of expect that trend to continue, and it's good savings. If we continue at that rate, or if chemicals become more expensive, this equipment should pay for itself within 5 years, and town reaps the benefits after that. Another thing that I did to try to drive efficiency, this is our first year headed into the budget proposal that we've had a solid 3 years of data when it relates to the cost of running the plant since the upgrade. The past few WPCA meetings, I'm sure Wayne knows, sewer rates have become a topic, so therefore I wanted to be as aggressive as possible when preparing this budget. This will be reflected in some of the accounts that I mentioned. Brief overview of the budget proposal, fiscal year 2026. Budget proposal total is $6,134,575. Fiscal year 2025 operating budget was $6,228,918. The current budget proposal is a decrease of $94,343, or 1.5%. There aren't many requests for account increases in this budget. There is one account that has a major increase, which I'll review, but the majority of the changes are all decreases. First account, I'm not going to go through all the accounts because we do have a lot of them, but if there's any accounts in particular that you have a question, I'm more than happy to answer it for you. First account I wanted to discuss is the overtime account. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $125,000. Proposal for fiscal year 2026's budget is $110,000. This is a 15% decrease, or 12%. And the reason I felt comfortable with this is we got a SCADA system installed at the treatment plant during the upgrade, and this system trends a lot of information. And with this information and this data, we're able to kind of predict potential issues before they become after-hour alarms. So I felt pretty comfortable bringing the overtime budget down. One thing that I do want to keep in mind is that as hourly wages increase, so will the overtime wages. So something we may have to revisit next fiscal year or sometime down the line. Next account I want to discuss is the on-call. This is also a decrease. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $54,600. Proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $36,400. This is a decrease of $18,200, or 33.3%. Historically, we've had 3 members of staff on call at all times, and we changed that to 2 members of staff on call at all times this coming year.
What triggers the what triggers an off-hours call?
It could be a lot of things. Sometimes we get phone calls from PD for blockages, sewer line blockages. Sometimes there may be a piece of equipment that tripped out in one of the buildings, so somebody has to go in and reset it. There could be issue at our remote locations and the pump stations. For example, a few weeks ago, during the last snowstorm that Dave had mentioned, we lost power, I believe, in the by Landing Street. We have a pump station over there, and when the community loses power, so does the pump station. So the generator fires, staff have to go in, confirm that the generator is operating properly, make sure the pumps are still working the way they're supposed to, and so forth, stuff like that. So, it's just typical stuff that you can't predict. But with the SCADA system, like I mentioned, it does give us a lot of data at the plant, so we're able to predict a lot of issues before they become alarms at the treatment plant. Next account is going to discuss is refuse recycling hazardous waste. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $950,000. Proposed budget for the upcoming year is $900,000. This is a decrease of $50,000, or 5.3%. I got to that number by looking at previous historical data over the past few years. Fiscal year 2023, we finished at $687,848. Last fiscal year, we finished at $771,104. And this year, we're trending towards $800,000. So I felt pretty comfortable bringing that down a little bit. And that account, I should have mentioned, is for removing like sludge and grease and grit, pretty much any type of hazardous solids that we have to dispose of.
Where does that go?
Sludge, which is the biggest expenditure that we have, gets removed from the system, and then we have tanker trucks that come and they bring it to either Naugatuck treatment plant because they have an incinerator, or to the Mattabesset treatment plant in Cromwell because they also have an incinerator, and they'll just burn it. Grit, I believe, gets disposed of at the New Haven treatment plant. And grease, we have a contractor that comes, removes grease, and they bring it up to Hartford. So, the one account that I did want to mention that we have a major increase on is our sewer major maintenance. This account is used for our sewer lining projects. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $1 million. Proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $1,500,000. So this is a 50% increase. Sewer lining is a project that town staff would like to remain aggressive with. A lot of the pipes in town are old and made of clay. Sewer lining helps maintain the integrity of these pipes and also helps keeps vegetation roots out of the collection system. A few weeks ago, February 1st, 2024, we had to perform an emergency spot repair on a broken pipe at the intersection of Meriden Waterbury Turnpike and South End Road. And, we'd rather be proactive and try to, fix and maintain these pipes versus being reactive and making spot repairs that are a lot more costly. Next account is environmental assessment remediation. This is a major decrease. This account was used towards the design and engineering assistance regarding the PCB cleanup project. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $400,000 for this account. Proposed budget for upcoming fiscal year is $0. This account was used for the preliminary work regarding the PCB project, such as project design, sampling, and project specifications. This all was funded through the operating budget. We are past the preliminary work, and we are now just awaiting approval from CTDEP and EPA, and then we'll be able to start the construction phase of this project. Last account I wanted to mention is supplies chemical. Current fiscal year, we budgeted $750,000. Proposed budget for upcoming fiscal year is $650,000. This is a decrease of 13.3%. As I mentioned earlier, with the new equipment in the phosphorus removal building, we saved a significant amount of polyaluminum chloride, which is pretty expensive. I kind of expect that trend to continue. My only concern with this account is that we are still awaiting our NPDES permit from the state of Connecticut. Depending on what's in the permit, if they add any new discharge limits on us, or if they add, if they add any more discharge limits, we may be required to use a different type of chemical or additional chemicals, but we'll just have to wait for them to issue the new permit. That's all I have. Thank you for your time and your consideration in the budget proposal, and I'm more than welcome to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You alluded to the sewer fund in general, the collection of sewer fees versus the operating expenses, that you might not be collecting enough. Did I hear that right? Or did I miss something?
Well, it's been a discussion in the past few WPCA meetings about if we're, charging enough to properly fund the treatment plant. And since it's been a discussion, I really wanted to try to drive down these accounts to the minimum amount that I think would be enough for us to maintain a proper treatment plant.
And are we doing good collecting the payments that were in arrears, the late payments? Are we making some progress there?
We do have a system set in place. Mrs. Babin, who was here earlier, staff at the engineering department, which oversees the sewer for Mr. Williams' office, and The folks who are outstanding have been notified that if they don't, by the end of this, next year's tax sale. So folks are paying,
Yep.
this next year. they
But
have
we were
plenty of
owed
months.
700,000, right? That's the number?
Correct.
Roughly? And some of these go back years,
Over 20 years.
over 20 years. So we're owed 700,000 by properties that haven't paid, some in over 20 years.
Correct.
I would say, we do everything we can to fix that before we raise rates. I mean, I think every ratepayer would agree. Let's collect what's owed to us before we start having to make up that by charging the current paying customers more. So I wish you well with it. Thank you for the budget. That wasn't budget related, but
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking care of one of the most important things. They always say if you mess up sewers, we're all in trouble. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, the fire department.
I pull names out of a hat for next year's schedule. No, I'm just joking. Good evening. Again, thanks for allowing us here. Just quickly, some calendar year 2024 highlights. The department composition, we have 37 career staff covering administration, operations, the fire marshal's office, as well as 2 additional civilian staff. As you know, career staffing is based at a fire headquarters in Station 5 on River Street, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Station 3 is staffed Monday through Friday with daytime firefighters. We currently have 2 volunteer companies. Company 1 located at 310 North Main Street, co-located with fire headquarters with 16 volunteers. And Company 2 at 128 West Main in Plantsville with 15 volunteers. Calendar year 2024, we answered 2,612 incidents or calls for service, conducted 764 inspections, conducted 334 building plan reviews, and also conducted 30 CRR home safety inspections. The question was raised of what does our department do for the town? One would think that answer would be fairly straightforward. However, we do more than just put out fires. We're an all hazards response agency for both emergency and non-emergency calls. Essentially, the fire department is who gets called to solve problems for our constituents that they can't handle themselves, and those services are wide-ranging. In addition to our daily response to calls for service, we also provide enforcement, education, and engineering controls to protect our built environment from hazards. This is accomplished through our fire marshal's offices with building plan reviews and inspections. Additionally, we provide public education to our schools and senior citizens on a variety of topics related to fire safety and fire prevention. A key component of this program, one of the questions we ask is what do people not know, what don't they think we know? Sorry, that was not it. What do we do that people may not know that we do? Is our CRR program, our home safety inspection. The Community Risk Reduction Home Safety Survey, which can include inspection and replacement of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, as well as reviewing household hazards such as clutterness and extension cords, etc. This is done with on-duty staffing and comes at no cost to our citizens. To highlight that program, in December 2021, we responded to a fire where the occupants were alerted to the fire in the basement by smoke and CR alarms activating alarms that our personnel had installed, and they were able to self-rescue safely. This is a program that we continue to advertise so more people can take advantage of it. We're looking forward to continuing it. Our in-house training program continues to be well received. Our ability to utilize the Bristol Fire Department's training building, as well as requiring some residential and commercial vacant properties, allows us to expand and enhance our training delivery. We are looking to expand this by bringing in additional subject matter experts from outside the department to deliver specific training to our members while not increasing the cost for those services. We've been successful in acquiring training classes through grant-funded opportunities, and we're able to offer those programs to outside agencies as well. Excuse me. Overall, inclusive of in-house training and outside contracted training, in 2024, department members participated in training programs consisting of approximately 15,500 hours and over 6,500 individual or combined training events. With regard to the question of innovative cost control, this is not as clear-cut as I would like to be, as we're not a factory producing an item in which we look at specific process improvements. However, we can look at process improvements and measures to offset costs or bring in revenue. We can do this through aggressive quoting for products or utilizing existing contracts through state or other entities like Sourcewell or HGAC. Primarily, our cost offset is through the application and award of local and federal grants. primarily for equipment and training. In terms of revenue, we are fortunate to be reimbursed by the state for responses to I-84 and I-691. Fiscal year to date, we've collected nearly $33,000. Last year was nearly $90,000, as well as our plan review and inspection fee revenue. Fiscal year to date is $126,000. You've heard it tonight, and you've heard it at your previous meeting. We are asked what we're most proud about of our department. It's our people. It's our personnel. We have extremely dedicated and professional personnel within the department, and I don't like to, we are one department, but that is both sides, career and volunteer as well, who have a strong ongoing commitment to the safety of our community. They provide the most effective and efficient service delivery with what we can provide them. In regards to the budget, page 61-ish is about where we are, typically. The budget proposal presented before you for fiscal year 25-26 is essentially a maintenance budget.
57, yeah.
That was close.
That was close.
So, while the bottom line illustrates a 10.5% increase off of fiscal year 24-25, we'll review those drivers shortly. The budget maintains our current level of service while facing continued challenges with price increases, market volatility, supply chain issues. And I'll get into the specific line items I'll go over now, and I'll look forward to answering any questions. If you look at the regular wages account, is an increase of 12.6%. This is a representation of the difference between the adopted fiscal year 24-25 budget, which didn't account for the awarded salary increases resulting from negotiations and arbitration. And it'll also be impacted by the new initiative that's in the budget currently for an additional firefighter. It is worth noting that we will begin negotiating a successor contract shortly as well. Overtime pay. That increase,
Negotiating what?
a successor contract,
What is that?
another contract. The contract we just settled expires in June.
Oh, the next
July.
one.
The next,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Sorry. Overtime pay. The overtime account increases 6.3%. Again, that represents contractual step increases, as well as the awarded wage impact and staffing language from the recently negotiated and arbitrated settlement. We initially proposed a higher amount to the Fire Commission, but we are actually, under direction of the Fire Commission, able to look closer at some line items and reduce that cost, some of which was accomplished by bringing training in-house on duty versus off-duty. One of those big drivers was CPR training for our personnel. We actually sent staff to go get CPR training in coordination with the health department. We're able to do that on duty with our current staff. So that way we don't have to send them for classes off-duty time as well as some other training events we brought in-house and on duty. Training services, this is our contractual piece in terms of tuition, textbooks, et cetera. That is a 20.9% increase in this account. That's driven by accounting for the tuition of the Connecticut Fire Academy for new and replacement employees due to retirements. We're estimating 2 new employees going through the Fire Academy in the fall at about $82.50 per individual. Trying to offset that, we are looking to establish a certified lateralist going forward for applicants that have already attended that program. So we might be able to offset in our next hiring round
Do
of
the
hiring.
volunteers ever, like does a volunteer ever become a career
Yes.
firefighter in town?
Yeah, significantly, and that's one of our drivers with the lack, not the lack of volunteers, but what happened at Station 3. We actually hired one sitting in the room right now. We hired a lot of our own volunteers. However, by contract, they still need to go to the Connecticut Fire Academy for the 14-week academy program, even if they have Fire 1 and Fire 2. This is we did a lateralist before for individuals that have already had the recruit program. We were able to bring on somebody on board, and again, with the direction of the board, we're going to look at running 2 concurrent lists to try and offset that cost and expedite the hiring process as well. So obviously, when they're at academy for 14 weeks, it's additional overtime to replace them, and they're not job function capable. So vehicle maintenance, 11.5% increase is due to anticipated increase in labor and parts costs. This continues to drive up. In addition, notably this year, we've seen some significant repairs to our fleet as our fleet ages. For example, the ladder truck we just replaced, which is in reserve status, was approximately $20,000 this year. We had an engine or a motor on one of our fire engines that had a computer issue. Computers make everything better. That was about a $5,000 increase, so we're anticipating additional problems with our aging fleet. Increase in legal fees. Of course, I didn't write down that percentage, but that's about 25%. Again, we're going back into contract negotiations. While the assistant chief and I are confident in working with union leadership to get most items off the table, we are hopeful that we won't go down the road we went last time in terms of the continuing negotiations of about 1,000 days. And the last item that's a big driver in there was placed in there was a decon washer. New initiative added to our operating budget. If you recall, we had proposed this as part of our safety and security package. We had taken it out
Yeah,
after
did we get it?
conversations.
Did we get a grant?
We did not get the grant. And actually, the feds have actually pushed that item down to a medium priority, so it'll never get funded at that grant level.
So
but
it's in here?
It's in here as well. And luckily, we have the possibility of bringing that piece of equipment in as a try before you buy program for 6 months, knock on wood, according to the vendor. But, I mean, I don't want to bring it in for 6 months and have them take it out.
No. You
But
gotta
I think it's a very vital piece of equipment in maintaining our keys to reduction strategy and the health and safety of our members. And lastly, our capital budget remains consistent with our vehicle replacement strategy that we've had for years. We are looking at it in terms, again, of not necessarily replacing just based on age, but looking at the mileage and the structure of the fleet as well. We've been fortunate as we bring in new vehicles, some of our older vehicles, we've actually been able to either give the highway, we've given a pickup truck to the highway, and a couple vehicles to the police department to use for road job vehicles to try and offset their fleet issues as well. So we working in conjunction with them. We do
I
have
gotta
some.
believe we have a good fleet of vehicles compared to other towns. It doesn't solve all of our problems, but I think we've done a lot with vehicles.
We have a substantial fleet, not substantial, we have a fleet that performs well for us. Like currently, we have.
But admirable,
we have
good new
Good new
functional
fleets, and
stuff.
we have 3 apparatus at our service now, so we have reserve pieces to pick up that slack. You have been very supportive with equipment and apparatus. I think we have one of the best fleets and one of the best replacement programs in the general area in terms of the apparatus, and especially looking to my colleagues where the challenges and struggling. Again, a lot of that struggle too also comes to the manufacturing process now. We're lucky our current engine that's in production was quoted at about 30 months. Prior to going to contract with that, we were looking at 36 to 48, depending on the vendor. It's gotten a little, you can look at a bunch of articles online. It's the production service of the fire apparatus industry has been very interesting lately. Outside of that, we've had some minor decreases, nothing overly significant. One was to the stipend field of about 3.5%, and that's due to volunteer reimbursement. Obviously, that's based on call volume and the amount of volunteers we have. And I don't think I had anything else significant. So outside of the regular wage piece, if you looked at the budget proposed or the budget we initially put together, utilizing current salaries based off the negotiated settlement, as well as what we're looking at going forward, we are about a 1% increase overall based off of the last fiscal year. So I look forward to any questions you may have. And you remember that, huh?
Yeah.
We have.
A lot of times insurance companies will pick that up.
There is, and there are riders in insurance policies. We looked at, you were on the board in 2017, 2018, when we were looking at it initially. I have been contacted by that vendor as well. There wasn't a lot of, I don't want to say tolerance, but thought's not the right word either. There wasn't a lot of teeth behind it. A lot of people were considering that double taxation for certain things. Could we bill for out-of-town individuals, especially those in car accidents on the highway, but then we're nickel and diamond. We did, in 2017, we were looking at an estimated cost revenue if we did that process of $150,000 to $200,000 a year. But that requires a town ordinance. There's steps and measures to get involved. That I just don't know what the political and public sentiment would be behind that. So I could look at it again and get an estimate, but again, it's going to.
No, yeah, 200,000.
A fireman and a half.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up to the board.
Yeah, see, you got some of the board here.
Yes.
Any comments from the board? Mr. Chairman?
Necessarily,
Here, come up to the mic because we're recording.
Making them walk.
yeah.
Somebody will call me and say, I couldn't hear.
I don't have any comments necessarily, other than, there are challenges this year, like there are every year. I appreciate the chief, the budget that he presented, and then he went back and he actually did cut what he proposed. I feel good about what
he proposed and what we sent to you people here. I think also you've been involved with talking about additional personnel, and we had a subcommittee recently that put together proposals as to how to achieve that over the course of the next 3 to 4 years. So that's something you'll be receiving and something for you to look at coming up. That's about all I have.
Thank you for.
Any,
Does, you say you get reimbursed for the time we put out on the highways? I didn't realize.
Yeah, we get reimbursed per response, or per incident, actually. This was a program that was the state had years ago, up until 2003. Back then, it was like $150 per response to the highway. Fiscal year, or the biennial budget for the governor for 25, 26, put it in up to $1 million a year to reimburse fire departments $500 for each incident you respond to the highway. I will say it's probably no surprise, we are like the largest recipient of that program in terms of $90,000 to $100,000 a year in revenue. They're a little slow. That's why I said this year it's only $33,000. I submitted our 101st reimbursement request today, so that would technically be just over $50,000. It's just a matter of the timing of when they
do you
get
keep
that.
track of how many times, like year over year, quarter over quarter, or something, of how many times we go on the highway?
Yeah, we're relatively consistent. I would have to
Kind
say
of high, though, no? Is it my,
about 150 a year. Yeah. We have 22 miles of interstate highway that run through the town.
but
so.
22 miles of well-maintained, to me,
Well maintained. It's dark. The highway in Southington is dark. I will not lie. It's relatively straight, which is another problem. Distracted driving. I will say a lot of it, and I think we've discussed this before, a lot of it goes back to COVID when there was limited enforcement on the highway and limited traffic, and people were just driving in excessive speeds, and I think they've maintained that posture. It is, as somebody who's on the highway, personally and professionally, it's the least favorite place I want to be and least favorite place I want my people on, but we follow National Traffic Incident Management System training in terms of protecting not only ourselves, but EMS, state police, highway workers as well.
And you're reimbursed.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, in terms of personnel costs, it's primarily handled with on-duty staff and maybe one volunteer company or two, and we shuffle that out. So the personnel costs are limited in terms of the staff that are actually employed and working that day, and the volunteers that come in. Unit hour utilization to try and figure out the diesel costs and the fuel costs. We could give you a rough number, but I mean, is 500 cutting it? No, it's probably double that, I would say, for each response. Over time, you're looking at wear and maintenance on the vehicles, et cetera, so. Appreciate it, thank you.
It's more than just putting out fires and running.
It is, and we, our social media presence, it puts it out on our social media platforms a lot. The town manager's office just distributed the flyer to other department heads, primarily community service, for their clientele, as well as
Perfect.
the Calendar House as well. And we've done presentations at the Calendar House. We've done it for the Housing Authority. And one of the other things I didn't mention is we do a fire safety and science fire behavior class for the middle schools as well. It's handled with on-duty staff, trying to engage the students in something other than their.
one time you did the community event, too. You talked to members of the community about a fire, the dangers, what to do.
We did.
If there's a fire. Remember, that was
Yeah,
several years ago.
Several years ago, that was currently Deputy Chief Glenn Doobie put that together.
Yeah.
Jokingly, we call that the shock and outdoor.
Maybe we
we
need
did a
to-
lot of it with the
Another one. That was a good,
We did that with the PTO program. We did it with the Calendar House as well in terms of.
if we can do one and videotape it, it'd be good for the community, if you could
certainly
figure it out
We
when
have
to
a,
do
we
it.
have a videographer on staff. Well, not on staff, but
Because I remember
back pocket.
being there, and so many blunders made by the homeowner, the occupant, or whatever you call them, and it causes miscommunication, puts them in danger, you in danger. I thought that was a pretty good presentation when I attended years ago.
no, we can definitely.
But if we could video it, and just, have the video available on our
Yeah.
website.
We can do that, and actually, the Connecticut Career Fire Chiefs Association, quarterly, they do public education videos. They go around the state with it. There's a cost to the department, and it's minimal. It's about $5,000, I'd imagine, but we could do that PSA, and that normally gets aired on Channel 8 as well, so it's something we could look in further.
And if we incorporate it with our own, though, people like to see our own firefighters or
Oh, it would be us. It would definitely be
leaders.
us.
Yeah.
It would be our,
And if we, it'll,
our staff, our personnel.
Yeah,
We're
that'd be
we're the
great.
forward-facing people of that presentation, so.
yep.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, let us know if we could support that, and we'll see if we can muster the 4 members supported, at least 4 members.
I appreciate it. Well,
Supported that.
We're creative within our budget. We might be able to handle it, so. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, thank you. We're done.
We're done.
Thank you, everyone. If there's any questions, anybody wants to chat with us, Wayne and I will be here for a few minutes, and thank you all for being here.
Thanks again. Good night.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.